event for Help to Thrive, which is a UK SPF funded project by the government. We're delighted that Mike is with us today, and he will be leading the presentation as the specialist consultant that we as Cotswolds Tourism have employed, and is here really to help you as a business understand and navigate how you can fill your rooms more, and that first journey on reaching new audiences and reaching new people. So Mark's joining as well, right? Morning to Mark, and Hannah's just joined, so thank you for joining. I've just started the recording and done the introduction, and so I'm going to hand over to Mike because I know how busy everybody is, but this is a workshop where you will be asked a few questions, and participation is what we're looking for. I know Wilford Wood are on the call as well, but I think you're using the chat facility, so that's absolutely fine. But yeah, keep your microphones on when Mike asks a question. So thank you, Mike. Lots of experience, over 20 years dealing with destination management and promotion and travel trade. So it's over to you.
Thank you very much. Hopefully, bit of luck. No, you were meant to be able to see my actual screen that I wanted you to see. Come back and we will try that one more time. Apologies. Of course, it is now not doing any of the things that it was doing 5 minutes ago. Can you see this?
Yes, we can see you, Mike. The screens.
Good,
yeah.
Perfect. Right. So good morning. Thank you very much, Sally, for the introduction. My name is Mike Newman. I am the Managing Director of a company called B2Me Tourism Marketing. The areas that I specialise in are travel industry engagement. So I work across the entire supply sector, supporting any type of business that is looking to work more effectively with the travel trade. So if you are one of these types of accommodation providers, and I apologize this is not meant to be an exhaustive list, but if you are sort of one of these, or definitely one of these, then this is definitely for you. So what I wanted to start off with and just say that every workshop that I do, and it doesn't matter who they are, it's specified to the people who are on it. So it doesn't matter where you are in your travel industry journey, if you haven't started it, if you've not considered it, if you are considering it, or even if you're really quite far along your own journey. The idea is wherever you are now, you will be slightly further along in about half an hour or so. So that's the plan. And everything that I'm going to be suggesting is designed to support your business needs and your operational style. I'm never going to be advocating that you change something that is core or fundamental to the way that you run your business. So within that, the idea is that I will be providing you with the kind of knowledge and the kind of support that is going to be relevant to you. Because if I don't do that, it's just going to be white noise and it's not going to be helpful. You're not going to be able to walk away and be in a better position. So my plan is to provide you, as it says here, with useful and relevant information that becomes actionable because it's adding to your knowledge. So we're going to start off with this as a position: is what is the travel trade? Well, there are many ways of defining it, but I think this is sort of the way that I've come up with it. It's a conceptual unit. You are the supply side, and a tour operator or an OTA or whichever sales channel you choose to go through is the buy side. Now, it's not just inbound, it's also domestic, but we can look at it in terms of all of the various sectors that you can see here. So inbound tour operators, and inbound simply means that they are working with a market that is not within the UK. Destination management company, also known as a DMC, That is what we used to call wholesalers. So they will collate itineraries for their tour operator and travel agency clients, whereas a tour operator themselves will build a specific customized tour for their client. The online travel agencies, as you know, on one side there will be places like Booking.com, and others there will be Expedia and so forth, where accommodation is bookable through that channel. It's worthwhile pointing out that Expedia's content is provided by Viator. So with Expedia, there will also be attractions and experiences that will be added into the kind of shopping list that Expedia offer. Whereas Booking.com, as I'm sure you very well know, will only be focusing on the accommodation sector. You've got your domestic group organisers and your coach groups, so UK-based. A business that's coming that's looking for events. It could be around Christmas, it could be around Easter, it could just be at other times of day. And of course, you've also got the Cotswolds tourism website itself as a conduit. But ultimately, all of these arrows point towards visitors. So the idea is that all of these different sectors are targeting increasing your occupancy levels. So that's the plan. But I need to say why the accommodation sector is so important for visitor economies. And it is simply the fundamental that if there is no accommodation that is available for the tour operator or other third party that is booking to visit the Cotswolds, it'll be a day visit or a half day visit. And it is absolutely key to note that by increasing dwell time, by including at least one overnight, the impact on the visitor economy is huge. And that will impact everyone. It could impact you guys for afternoon teas. It could impact you for a dinner. It could impact you for just a reminder of what a great place you are to stay. But also it impacts every visitor experience, it impacts every attraction, and it impacts every shop and every coffee house that is anywhere in the region. Because whilst people are visiting, whatever money they spend is adding to a visitor economy. It's adding to someone else's bottom line, including yours. So these are just some facts that you can't really ignore them. They're not made up by me. They are reported facts from Midas, which is a really, really influential report that's produced every few years through Visit Britain and through the Department of Culture, Media and Sport. And it states that 1 in 3 trips are booked as part of a package through a travel trade business. And that is an enormous amount of business when you consider what the tourism industry is worth to the UK. By next year, it's suggested it's going to be worth £257 billion. It's contributing more to the UK GDP than the pharmaceutical industry. It is contributing roughly on a par with the car building industry. So if you think of that in terms of its actual value, and you realize that 1 in 3 of all trips is coming through the travel trade, there is revenue to be made. And these are the reasons why. I mean, there are 3 really. Speed. It's easy. You can walk into a travel agency on a high street. You can go onto a website. You can call up a tour operator. Uh, it's fast to do any of these things, and you can do it through any number of tools. So whether you physically walk in or you go onto a website or you follow a link that they've seen through something else, through one of the other consolidators, I don't know, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, for example, or Secret Escapes, any of these factors, it's convenient for the consumer and it's choice. They have an enormous amount of choice laid out in front of them where they can build their dream holiday. That is what it comes down to. These are the consumers who are choosing actively not to book directly. Now, it may be that they didn't know you existed. It may be that they thought that it would be more sensible for them to book as a package. A lot of consumers got really badly stung through COVID, for example, where they couldn't get their money back. Now, if you book through a package, you're guaranteed to get your money back if you have to cancel for reasons that are various, and we are all aware of the kind of reasons there are. But this is how the consumer thinks. And if 1 in 3 of all bookings are going through this, it's worthwhile taking note. So to put this into context, what I wanted to do is I wanted to look at some of the wider points that the travel industry are saying are our motivators. So the first 3 of them are directly relevant to the wider visitor economy, but also to you. Group sizes are smaller now than they were pre-pandemic, and that number may be below what you consider to be your minimum group rate, but it could equally be 14, 15, 16 people. So if your group rate happens to be 20 plus, you may want to consider some flexibility. We need more ground handling services. One of the issues about the Cotswolds is that we need more small vehicles. Full-size coaches can struggle to get around some of the key sites, and so we need ground handling, and this is where the destination management companies, the DMCs, come into their own, because they will also book the all of the ground handling services, so the small coaches, the tour guides, etc., etc., etc. Food and drink experiences and bragging rights are key. So if your hotel or your accommodation provision is in a historic property, if it's a boutique, if it's special in some way, the opportunity, particularly for the North American market, is going to be saying, I stayed here, this was epic. The big issue is that a lack of FIT allocation in hotels is forcing the travel trade to look at alternative overnight accommodations. Now, that might be out of region. I did a project with the Cotswolds with Sally a few years ago, and we had a large tour operator saying, we only book accommodation in Swindon because, frankly, we can get the rooms we need at a price we can deal with. And then what we do is we'll come in and we'll spend half a day in the Cotswolds, and then we'll go out to Windsor or we'll go somewhere else. And this is a huge demonstrable impact on visitor economy. More and more bookable experience products are required. Now that's been handled through other workshops for experience making, and it's great. And another thing for the accommodation sector is there are a lot of people who are self-driving, and there is an increasing number of people who are self-driving in electric vehicles. So if your property can or already does have electric car charging points on site, this is a really big plus for the industry to know. This is particularly for the German and the Dutch markets, but also for the French markets, because a lot of them will self-drive. And so that is one of the things that they are going to be looking for. Now, this is by way of an apology, because the blue triangle on the left is the traditional way that destinations have been marketed. And it's not just this destination, it's all destinations. What tends to happen is you look at what your most famous product is and you go, this is the reason you need to come to this destination. But what happens as a result of that is that you can go to this destination and you can then leave, often without an overnight. And that puts a barrier there. But what it also does is it creates an awful phrase, which is this hidden gems phrase, which is something that desperately needs banning worldwide immediately. Hidden gems is simply a way of destinations saying, oh, these are all the things you didn't know about. Now, arguably, there was never any justification for not talking about these products in the first place. But what we're now doing, and what Sally and I are doing, and what I'm doing with destinations around the country, is we're going with the green triangle approach. So the first thing we're doing is we're talking to the travel trade. We're talking to tour operators, we're talking to ATAs, talking to DMCs, and we're saying to them, this is the destination. What do you want? Is it easy to work here? Is it difficult? How long are you staying here? And we take that information and we feed it back, and we feed it back across the supply sector. And the idea behind that is that then what we do is we then create a much more travel industry friendly product mix. But the impact for the accommodation sector is that you move from a blocked line to a range of accommodation that suits different audiences. Now that can range from a glamping site through to a boutique hotel, through to a pub with rooms, through to a big chain hotel. It's very much down to what the consumer is familiar with, looking for, saying to the tour operator. So we have a wider range of accommodation that then leads to this increased dwell time. And the famous products or the famous reasons to come into a destination, well, they were there anyway. But what we're doing is we're making a much more travel industry friendly approach, which is much more aligned to supporting the entire supply chain, which of course includes accommodation. So that's what Sally and I are doing strategically, and that's what this project Help to Thrive is targeting. It's targeting all of the ways that we can build up not one chunk of the supply chain, but all of it, and building it up as a much greater sense of coming together. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pose 3 questions to you. And what I would like to ask is if you can all come off mute, please, and throw your thoughts into the conversation, because I find the best way to understand what's happening on the ground is to ask. The same way as I would concept test with a tour operator, I'm now with Sally here. I'm now going to ask you as the accommodation sector to give me some feedback, good, bad, or indifferent, just not silence, on these 3 things. So the first question I'd like to ask is, do you as the accommodation sector feel that attractions and experiences are prioritized over your own wants and needs? That's the first question. The second question is your business model aimed at individuals booking through either your website directly or through a consolidator platform like booking.com or any others that you may use? And the third question is, would you consider having individuals, FITs, as well as groups through the travel trade coming and having space in your hotel? Because tour operators are going to be looking for allocations for FIT rates, which they will release months in advance. And if you're not considering this, can I ask why? So over to you. I have to admit, I can't see you, but Sally can.
Yeah, so I was just going to sort of say I'll go around the room, and there is no right or wrong answer here. So don't feel, this is helpful for us as well to get an idea of what you're feeling as a business as well. So I can see Mark Taylor, you've come off mute already. So do you want to sort of tell us what your thoughts are? You're Bampton Tea Rooms, I think, aren't you?
Yeah, we are based in Chipping Campden. Yeah.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah. Perhaps do the questions in reverse then.
Yes.
Would you consider booking FITs as well as groups? Yes, the answer to that.
Yeah.
And I think we have to in our particular position in terms of growing our business. So we don't have any restriction there.
Yeah.
Is our business model aimed at individuals booking through our own website? Well, we much prefer to deal directly, of course. We didn't deal with booking.com for about 5 or 6 years, and we just felt that we like the rest of the collective economy had to move to that consolidated opportunity. It was denying us growth business, and we recognise that obviously commissions and expenses are payable, but we don't feel we in our business sense that we can do without them. They've got to such a scale and level that we have to have them as part of our offer. But of course, we would prefer people to deal with directly. And indeed, I've invested our marketing expenditure to try and improve our website to encourage and entice, really. So we would recognise that. We probably also recognise that we don't deal with social media as much as we should, which is really just a reflection of all our staff working very hard, 7 days a week, 364 days a year, and capacity to do that, and probably a skill competency in probably restricts us. So we sort of acknowledge our opportunity and challenge. But I think it was Packard who wrote the book. For every pound spent on marketing, we never really know where 50% of the effect is coming from, really. So we sort of have that constant challenge in our minds to put into our business to reach out. And then the first question of, do you feel attractive and experiences are prioritised over the accommodation sector? But we obviously pick up the benefit of any Cotswold promotion to the area, so we appreciate that. Chipping Campden is often a town that people are visiting for maybe less than a day, therefore they're going around the other towns. So we feel we want to have our fair shout, so we're keen to support promoting the area, and then of course our own individual business. So I think we'd like more reach out for our own individual business, but we recognise the connectivity and the importance of being in a little fish in a big pond, and we want to access the benefits of that, really, I suppose. So it's
Perfect answer.
So there's a reflective question, I suppose, about how do we do more to promote and engage better with the travel industry other than what we're doing. And we do engage, because we do things with walking companies and other tourist areas, Lake District, Bath, London, where we are part of that connectivity, and do have coach visitors as well. So that's important to us. But that's more of an opportunistic position, the second matter, than a sort of an agreed position or an arranged position. So that is very it's very volatile, I suppose, receiving that level of demand, but it's always welcome, of course.
Thank you very much, Mark. That was that. Yeah. I mean, you sort of stolen the next 8 slides from me, but that's fine. That's brilliant. Would anyone else like to bring in their thoughts?
I will just say, in terms of our business model, from our experience, that we've similar to what Mark was saying about how we're using that from like a marketing perspective for the different platforms like booking.com. But we are finding more people are calling us directly upon finding us on booking.com to see if we can then honour those prices, which has really benefited us, because obviously we're not having to pay that commission. But we definitely find that we do need those different platforms for that marketing perspective.
Thank you, Brittany. I mean, does your property, would you consider FITs? So would you, for example, consider if a tour operator requested 3 rooms a week, 4 rooms a week through Absolutely. Your seasons? One of the big things that the tour operators come back to me and say, and they really struggle with, this is not located specifically here, and we'll talk about it in a minute. They need FIT rates on allocation, so they need to know what those rates are during the year. They can vary during the week, and they can vary across the season, but the phase at which they will release those rooms back to you is never less than 28 days. So on that basis, what we really need to do is to open up the conversation to say, if we can, as a region, if we can go out to the travel trade and say, here are 3, 4 hotels, whatever it is, that are willing to provide FIT allocations across the year on a rate that will vary from, say, Saturday and Sunday, Monday, and then a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever, that is going to have a very strong impact on the destination as a whole. And it is, I keep banging on about it because it's the thing that tour operators say, this is what drives us mad.
Yeah, that's definitely something we would consider from our perspective, because I've spoken to our hotel manager about this, because even if, like you said, the 28 days, we do still get last minute bookings through booking.com. So if something were to change, we would still be able to fill those rooms.
Oh,
So that's something
100%.
we'd consider.
Absolutely. Thank you. Would anyone else like to?
I was going to say, Eddie, it'd be good to know number 4, sort of what yourselves do.
Yeah, so the problem I find with FITs and certainly the travel trade is the rates just they just try and push it down so hard on the rates that and with the market being so dynamic, certainly in the Cotswolds, so it's so seasonal, they just can't match the when you go into the peak season, they just can't match those rates. So what you're basically doing is you're taking a punt on whether or not they will give you enough trade during the quieter times to justify using them during the busier times when you know you can fill those rooms at your top rate. And there seems to be very little movement. We were talking to one company and they were offering £75 a room, up to £100 during peak season. We can't do that in peak season. You know, our standard.
No, and I think that's absolutely true. I think perhaps, I don't know when the last time was that you spoke to an inbound tour operator or a DMC, but I think that what they are saying is, and we're going to be looking at this in more detail in a moment, what they are saying is, if you can give us a rate when we know you're busy, we will gladly support you through the shoulder seasons. Because one of the big changes in market post-pandemic really is that the idea of seasonality is now different. People will travel when they feel like it. They won't just pitch up June, July and August when, quite rightly, as you say, you can sell your rooms back to front and inside out every single day of the week. But when it's today, the whatever it is, 17th of October, you may have greater availability and lower occupancy than you did 8 weeks ago. And I think the thing is that what we need to do is we need to get these conversations moving again. I think a lot of conversations haven't gone back since, because one of the things which I know is that the tour operators aren't looking, really genuinely aren't looking for massive commissions. They're looking to work in partnership with you because the tour operator benefits from the increased dwell time within any destination, because they can then sell more into a package. And particularly as we are looking to diversify away from some aspects of travel and move towards a more kind of experiential led travel for the consumer, which is the same as if the consumer is booking directly with you. They're thinking along the same lines. They're just choosing a different channel to reach you.
I think also, Mike, just to interject there for Eddie's benefit, from a Cotswolds tourism perspective, we're trying to target niche markets in particular that will travel in those shoulder seasons. So operators that are looking at the quieter times of year for you. So I think, if we can continue conversations from a trade perspective, then I'm about to go to World Travel Market. So this is a great opportunity for me to be sort of highlighting some new businesses effectively that would prepare to do to have conversations with the tour operators as well. I'm aware that Wolford Wood have just put some comments in, Mike, if that's okay for me to read out. So they're saying the biggest issues for them is booking platform fees, which we know is part of the marketing, and the fact that we have to make offers to all the different platforms rather than say just embed on your own booking system. I think they're typing something else at the moment, so I'll read that out when it comes. I know Hannah is also on the call, but Tree Dwellers is a really brand new business, literally, isn't it?
It is.
It only just opened.
It is really new. Can you hear me properly? I've just put my I've got a new laptop and it's all zooming into my face in different places and a bit much for me. So we're super new. I did used to work in sort of West Walian cottage holiday accommodation, and also B&Bs down there, but also then Malmaison in Oxford. So I've seen a couple of different models, but I've never really been the one in charge of the marketing. I've just done the events and things like that. So it's really interesting to learn this side of it, having seen it from afar. I suppose for us, we are essentially self-catering accommodation. We are 7 high-end tree houses that start at 2:30 a night for, on our website. So I was really wondering, we're booked up all on weekends, but where we're really trying to focus our attention now is Sundays through Thursdays. I'm sure everyone is in the same boat, but that's my agenda at the moment. And I wondered whether there are certain packages or things in place that do just focus on those sort of midweek trades, and is there room in those packages for self-catering? We do have a feasting table, like a communal space, but it's not undercover. So it's like, if they were to be doing a more high-end experience where they have a chef in, for instance, or anything like that, there is space for that. It is a bit weather dependent at times, though. So it's quite a niche. But
it's brilliant,
but it's quite a small offering.
So the thing is this: experience is everything, and the market as a whole is willing to spend more money to be with fewer people. That's the nub of it, really. And to answer your question, is there there's an interesting sense that I have when people go on holiday, and I use it when I look at myself as well. When people go on holiday, they lose track of what day of the week it is because it's irrelevant. So the way I view it is that every single day is a weekend, and particularly when you have when you're working with higher end tour operators and DMCs, their clients will be saying, I want to do something extraordinary. I'm not interested in doing what everyone else has done. So is there a space in the market for you through the travel trade? Absolutely. I mean, there's a space for all of you, but is there a space for you? Yes, there is. The more that you add to your experience, the more that you become valuable. And what I mean by that is, because as I say, experience is everything. Experience almost comes before the bed that you sleep in.
Mm-hmm.
And this would be for all of you, regardless of which sector of the market is. People are saying, I want to do something memorable. I want my bragging rights. I want my, my moment in the sun, even if it's raining. And the more that you can do, so for example, sustainability is really important across the board now for lots of travelers. So if you have access to locally grown food that can be provided for your clients on arrival, so there's like a welcome box.
Yeah.
This particularly works for the self-catering sector and camping sector, but not obviously for hoteliers, but I'm trying to be as inclusive as I can. So if you can do things like that, then that really works. Also, it pushes up your total price. So say your nightly rate is 230. By the time you add in your welcome box, it suddenly become 250. If we consider that any form of commission, regardless, it's a cost of business, it's not a cost of sale. One of your colleagues mentioned earlier about, the Packard sense of, how do we know if our marketing is impactful? Well, with the travel trade, you only pay your commission on the confirmed sale. So it couldn't be more impactful. It is 100% guaranteed you are getting that sale at the price that you are asking for. And with all of these things, where people worry about the commissions, and in fact, what we're going to do is we're just going to move on a little bit, because I'm kind of answering your questions whilst at the same time talking through slides that you haven't yet seen. So this is just a description of what the FIT actually is. So the FIT is not necessarily just the individual traveling alone or couples, but it's also families, friends, or people looking for experiences. It's any number of people below what you would all collectively consider to be a group. So it literally is any number from 1 to 16 or 17 or whatever. But these are where the requests are coming from. And because they are individuals, they have much more flexibility on a days of the week. So if they're on a customized itinerary, which many of these will be, they can come on a Monday or a Tuesday. Why not? Doesn't do them any harm. They're still going to Windsor, but whether they go to Windsor on a Monday or a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Thursday doesn't make any difference. Or if they're going down to the southwest, you know, Bristol, Bath, down to Cornwall, whatever, doesn't make any difference. They have the flexibility, and this is your opportunity to tell the tour operators when your best availability is. Because it will vary across the week for you, and therefore the pricing will vary across the week for you. But it's not likely at the planning stage of an itinerary that a tour operator is going to say, I have to be here on a Thursday. I can only do this on this day of the week. It's not very likely to be like that. And we've
Mike,
already
can I
kind of
just
alluded. Yes, of course.
interject?
Please. Yeah.
Did have some comments from Wolford Wood.
Sorry, yes.
So just so that they feel included, because
course.
they're on a computer. They found their booking platform are keen to make their cut from the experience, which is what we've just been talking about. But a simple example would be to add in a fire pit and log hire as well. So that's fine. But they've also, on a positive note, found that removing a minimum 2-night stay has doubled their bookings.
Yes.
It can be a bit hectic for the weekend turnaround, but it's proven to be worth it. So they now get 50% I think that is of 1-night stays. So again, that's obviously worked for your business model. Yes, Eddie.
I have to say, I would agree on that with the 2-night minimum. We try where possible to push to keep the weekends at 2-night minimum, but we certainly the quieter months we certainly remove Friday. It's just the Saturday night. A lot of the time we try to push it, but it's a great tip, that 2-night minimum.
It absolutely, really, and it makes so much difference, because actually for most destinations, whether you're going through consumer or you're going through travel trade, most destinations are 24 hours on site. That's the goal. That's where we want to be starting for everyone. Obviously, if people are booking directly with you through your own website, you know, if I'm going away for a weekend with my wife, then yeah, fine, 2 nights is fine. But it every time when you're looking at a room rate, or you're looking at a distance from home, or whatever it is, and there is any form of a barrier or a minimum requirement, it's always going to make you think twice, because effectively it's saying, did we want to stay here for 2 nights, or are we being forced to stay here for 2 nights? And it's just that. Again, it comes down to that consumer thinking and that consumer choice. I completely understand, you know, and I do, that there are issues around minimum stays. There are issues around very high occupancy in some months, occupancy in others. But the reality is, if the travel trade can sell the room, you will make money from it. And you know what that rate is, because you're agreeing it a year in advance. So there is always this opportunity for you to say, if we can fill 1 room, 2 rooms, 6 months out, then that's a really good opportunity to grow our business. Because the truth is that the Cotswolds is a honeypot destination. And whilst there is a struggle for the travel trade to get the overnights during the week, or whenever it is that they are asking for it, other destinations are going to be taking some of that business away. And this isn't a threat. This is just a truth. I know of one destination that there was the tour operator was going to renew their contract, and this particular accommodation provider said, we don't want FIT business, and if you demand that we give you FIT business, we're actually going to put an FIT surcharge on it. And the reality was that the tour operator went, well, that's just not going to work.
But Mike, can I just flag in on that?
Of course.
For instance, when we use Booking.com,
Mhm.
our rates on Booking.com are slightly higher than our rates on our website. We guarantee lowest rates.
Yes.
We
Yep.
from Booking.com to cover the commission. The problem you've got is when the tour operator then is pushing you down and also taking their commission off the top, what you end up with is you end up with a less favourable rate than you would with something like Booking.com if you play the game correctly.
But what the tour operator is trying to do is trying to say, I need 15% commission for sake of argument. I don't get involved in the commercials like this, and I certainly, we can have a private conversation about it, but not in a, anyway, say it's 15%. What they're going to be looking at is they're going to be looking at a trade rate that will vary across the week according to your availability. The travel trade will never ever undercut your bar rate, because you set both your bar rate and you set your travel trade rate. Now they may say, I need 20%, 15% is not really going to cut it. And you may say, you can't have 20% in, May, June, July, August, because we're running at 98, 99, 100% occupancy 7 days a week. But what you can do is you can have 20% commission from September through to the end of November, before you start getting your Christmas bookings, and you get another uptick. That you can do. And it's all about talking to them. Now, when you look at Booking.com, because they're using a dynamic pricing model rather than the fixed pricing model, as you very rightly say, the pricing will be in excess of what you can buy directly through your own website. But a travel trade will never look to undercut your bar rate. It's not in their interests to do so. And if you've ever had a conversation where you feel that's what they're pressuring you to do, I would genuinely say we need to have a better conversation about how our rates will vary according to our occupancy, but in return for us giving you 4 rooms a week released 28 days in advance, the rates will vary according to how busy we are through our own direct sales. The travel trade, the one golden rule about the travel trade is they do not sell what they cannot get. So you need to be saying, well, yes, we've got the availability for you. They will confirm that they will confirm that booking within 24 hours of the inquiry. And if they can't have it, they'll say, I'm sorry, that's not going to work, or that won't work for you. And then they just release the room back. And that is always going to be the case. So
I suppose, Eddie, we can have a conversation offline as to what might work for you and where your gaps are, and before I go to World Travel Market, then I'll be forearmed and ready to promote you.
No, absolutely, because it does come down to this one point, that if you've got the capacity, there's an opportunity to make some money. It is as fundamental as this. But I mean, there are a couple of other things that the travel trade really need, and this is something that they suffered from terribly badly in the immediate aftermath of when everything was reopening. They had no idea who they were talking to. So when you are setting information up for the travel industry, for the tour operator, ideally the people on this call is the people that would be their primary contact. What they don't want is an email address that's generic, bookings at such and such hotel, or trade sales at, because they don't know who they're talking to. And they really want that. They are trying to work with you in partnership, and they are trying to support you. But as a result, they're going to want to know who they're talking to. And it's been a real problem. And also, and I know that there are a whole load of things going on with staff and gaps in staff, and everyone's working enormously hard. But if you are working with the travel trade, make sure that all of the key people know who these tour operators are, understand what their company names are, understand if they're working under contract or if this is a request, these kind of things. So whilst you very rightly say as a collectively that you want people to book with you directly and via email, booking online is the fastest growth area. There's no doubt about it. OTA sales now are growing at 20% year on year. They're growing faster than any other sector of the travel industry. But what we need to do is be flexible to the needs of the rest of the travel industry, and they are predominantly working offline. So what they will do is they will say, hello, we've got a request for 3 rooms in March, April next year, this date, this date, this date. Could you please confirm the rate? Unless they've obviously got a fixed rate on contract, could you please confirm the rate? We will then go back to our client and we will come back to you within 24 hours. So there needs to be the kind of the give and take, and this is why the communication is so important. They need to know who they're talking to. They want to be saying, hi Mark, hi Hannah, hi whoever. You know, it's Mike from Joe Blogs DMC, just confirming that, you know, that we've got access to rooms at this rate on this date. And then you've got, you know, the opportunity to go yes or no according to your availability. You don't want to bite the hands that feed to you, but equally, if you're full, you're full, and they will absolutely accept that. But if you say you're full when you're not, they're going to go to somebody else. They won't just quit and go, oh, forget it, we'll just bin the whole Cotswolds from our itinerary. They'll just go to another hotel. Because they don't contract with one property, they will contract with multiple properties. So it's just worth just making that point. And we're kind of coming to an end now. Now, what I really wanted to say is, because it's really interesting, and I'm so pleased that there's a variety of properties here on this call today, and hopefully listening to this recording in due course, because it's not always the biggest and the most well-known that are going to get all the market share. Because the consumer is willing now to pay more to be in a less crowded space, and they are looking for much more tailored experiences. Every type of property is equally in a position to benefit from this. And these are B2B relationships. So, you know, they are something that can be engaged with. They can be supported by the LVEP, the Local Visitor Economy Partnership, that obviously Cotswolds Tourism Plus, and by you individually. You can go out, you can do fam trips, you can do sales calls. The travel industry is delighted to meet you. And, you know, you can make an appointment to come and meet the sales teams. Most of the big tour operators are based in London, and they are absolutely ecstatic when they get suppliers coming in to meet their sales teams. And I've done this with so many clients over the years, and it always goes brilliantly. And I'm just saying, this is something that's, you know, so important. But look, I'm available for you, each of you, any of you, if you want to have some one-to-one time with me, just to talk about things that are maybe more specific to your business, or in anything else. And I want to work with you. I want to support you. So this is how you can reach me via email. And please do. I'm very nice, and I'm relatively approachable. And if any of you are going to come to World Travel Market with Sally, or on any day, please do come and find me. You can just drop me an email. I'm not on stand, so I will be floating about. But I'm going to stop sharing now. And if any of you have any other questions or any points you would like to raise, please do. But otherwise, thank you ever so much for your time.
Just a couple of points, if I may.
Of course.
Yes, Mark.
Reflections, and if they exist, then I apologise. But I suppose if we in the Cotswolds have capacity, is there a mechanism or a way of holding that as a clearance house somewhere? So effectively, you're contributing your capacity into a conduit that the travel industry has access to, and you can either commit to or not as a participant. But if you commit to it, there's a certain set of obligations that then have to discharge, of a way of matching buyer and seller. And it might be happening at the World Travel Day event, I don't know, in London, But is there a way of promoting a speed dating or a connection between the suppliers in the Cotswolds, customers and suppliers in the Cotswolds, or even if we all have to go down to London or another location to put the two parties together to actually understand more the binary nature of how we progress? Just placing some thoughts on the table there. I don't know, but I just wanted to.
Well, your first point, sort of around the technicality of sort of feeding in capacity. No, nothing exists. That would be a major investment in technology, I would imagine. Mike, have you got any thoughts on any examples of that that's going on?
Not as such. What I would suggest, though, if you want to feed out that there is capacity, or there is potential, or this is where our best availability is, Sally and or I can absolutely give you some introductions to some tour operators, and they will gladly feast on your availability.
Yeah, so Mark, just to and for everybody to highlight what we are doing and have done for a number of years, is visit and operators, engage with operators. We usually do that through a range of different events that we attend. So for instance, a couple of weeks ago, Mike and I were both at a UK inbound convention meeting operators. We've got a travel trade database with operators that we've met previously. It has been rebuilt since COVID, because obviously, as Mike's alluded to, the sort of industry was decimated at that time, and a lot of knowledge and sort of relationships that we'd built up over the years, staff had left and changed. So we have a trade newsletter that goes out 3 to 4 times a year. So again, we're always looking for businesses to highlight, and actually part of this Help to Thrive program is about picking out a few accommodation providers. I will have to say, from a funding point of view, it's only across 3 council areas of Cotswold District, which is the majority of you, I'm pleased to say, West Oxfordshire and Tewkesbury Borough. So if you're not in those, then you won't be able to access sort of the additional support, which is about that tailored one-to-one, with Mike's time, my time, but also then us promoting you as well. So we do have a travel trade website, so it's worth checking, are you listed on that? Because if not, we will get you on there. So there are definitely some ways that we can enhance your reach to operators, and I think all of you that are on the call are exactly the sort of businesses for the different markets. Obviously, I know we've got Wolford Wood on, so very much I would be targeting the Dutch market for you. There is a show called for Canterbury's. We're not attending that one this year, but I know somebody that is going. So again, I can ask them to push yourselves. We work very closely with our wider destination partners. So for instance, Bath and Bristol. So my colleague Catherine will be going off to the Gulf Asia market visit shortly next month, and again we liaise and we share leads, because at the end of the day, visitors are going to come in for different things and go to different checkpoints. Stratford-upon-Avon, Shakespeare's England, is another close ally where we share contacts as well. And then we do have some fan visits, but it is something we're really, really keen to do longer term, to either go up to London, which we have done before, or get buyers down here as well. So I hope that answers that one.
Yeah, it does. I think what motivated me is trying to think, how do we get our respective on this call voice of our businesses closer to that travel market, so that, because we all know our own individual businesses and would have a view of its vision and its role and what makes a difference. And I think it's anything to sort of maximise that, then we'd all be within reason participants, I would have thought, would want to participate.
Definitely. I will follow up with all of you as an individual following this call. And I'll stop the recording now actually, and then we can sort of get that sent over as well.